Hi! We're just setting up our live about the octopuses, and bear with me for a second while I'm making all necessary adjustments within the settings. It's nice to see so many of you already, so I'm trying to invite our guest to join us. I have no request to join, that's right, because I want to send it. Let's see. Why is this not working? Here we go. And we add our guest for today, who is a researcher. Trying to add a moderator as well. Here we go. Yes. So we're all set up and we're waiting for our guest, Dr. Elena Lara, to join us. I hope she can make it. It's very nice to see that there's a couple of you already. So while I am waiting for Dr. Elena to join us, I will already introduce her because Dr. Elena Lara is a dedicated advocate for aquatic animal welfare and a prominent figure. She cannot join. Why? Let's see. Here we go. Hi.
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly well. Can you hear me too?
Yeah.
That's
perfectly.
Great. It's very, very nice to meet you. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Sure, a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. It's so great that you have the time to join us. And I was just about to introduce you. So I think I will start all over again now that it's the two of us.
Okay, go for it.
So everyone, meet Dr. Elena Lara, who is a dedicated advocate for aquatic animal welfare and a prominent figure in the field of marine biology. With a background in biology and a PhD in marine biology, she leverages her expertise to research and develop science-based resources, contributing significantly to discussions surrounding ethical and environmental issues in octopus farming and the European aquaculture industry. As a TEDx speaker, she passionately highlights the intelligence of fish and pressing welfare concerns within the aquaculture sector. Dr. Lara actively engages with various stakeholders, including government bodies and international media, to promote sustainable solutions for the benefit of people, animals, and the planet alike. So thank you so much for joining. And we also had you on the podcast, and people were able to submit questions these last few days. And I would like to start kind of easy with the first question, which would be, what kind of animals are octopuses? Are they fish?
No, they are not fish. They are in the group of animals that they are called cephalopods. So in this group we have octopus, but also cuttlefish and squid. So, and also you need to think that these animals are invertebrates. So fish, it's part of the vertebrates group of animals, but octopus, it's an invertebrate. So it could be something like, it's in the same group like insects or mollusks. So yeah, it seems like quite different animal to be an invertebrate, but yeah, they are in the invertebrate group. So nothing related to fish, not at all.
Okay, thank you so much. And also I wanted to add that everyone should feel free to submit further questions during this Q&A in the comment section. And the next question that we've collected beforehand is, how can octopuses be colorblind, because they are,
Yeah.
but still know how they should camouflage themselves, because they're masters of disguise, aren't they?
Yeah, they are masters doing that. So they are colorblind, as you say, but they are able to come or to imitate, like the surroundings, because they have a tiny cells in their skins that they are called chromatophores, and they have millions of these cells in their skin. So they are able to do that in, because they are also very quick changing the texture and the color of the skins, thanks to the cells, and these cells are controlled by the brain. But it's not like they do this behavior with the eyes. They do it with these cells in their skin.
That's very interesting that the cells know how to do this, even though it's not connected to the brain. That's amazing.
Yeah,
So,
it's quite an impressive thing that they can do, to be honest. Yeah.
absolutely. Is that also how they disguise around predators? What do they do if they encounter a predator, like a shark, for example? What do they do?
I mean, this is one of the techniques that they use to avoid predators, the camouflage, but also they have other techniques. Usually what an octopus will do is run away from a predator, hide, in holes, in the rocks or in the coral. And the other technique that they have, it's like they use the ink, they do this shot of ink, so they can the predator, then they cannot see them. So it's a way that they have to avoid the predator. And the other thing that they can do is just use the proper way that they have to swim away from the predator. So depending on the approaching of the predator, they can use several techniques. It's not that in front of a predator they will use just a technique. They have several techniques to avoid them.
That's super interesting. Thank you. And you already mentioned the ink, which is another question that we have. And we know that within the group of octopuses, we have multiple species. And so someone from the audience before asked, is this the ability to produce ink? Is that specific to one species or to all of the octopuses, or also not unique within the cephalopod family?
I mean, the ability to produce ink, it's something that most of octopus do, and not just octopus, but also, in the group of cephalopods like squid or cuttlefish, they are also able to do that. But I was curious about this and I looked for it, because to be honest, I didn't know if there's some specific species that was not able to use ink. And I found out that there's one species that lives in the depth of the oceans. That is the Dumbo octopus.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a species that we will find, very deep in the ocean. And this one, it's not able to produce ink, but the other species, yes. I think it's the only one.
That's super interesting. And so this is my question now. You said you looked into it, but I guess it's very complex, and also deep sea animals are quite understudied so far. But do you know if the lack of the ability to produce ink has anything to do that the environment where it lives is that dark already anyway?
Exactly. So if you live in the depth sea, there's no light there. So if you use ink, it's something that it's not gonna be useful for you, because everything is really dark. So you are not using anything different from the environment that allows you to hide from the predator or avoid. So in the deep, that makes no sense to use a shot of dark ink.
So that really does make sense. And now we know about deep sea animals that most of them live a very solitary life, and that it's very hard to come across other members of the same species. And so I was wondering, or to say someone from the audience submitted a question and they were wondering, do octopuses live in families, or do they have social lives?
No, they are not a social species. They are very solitary. They spend all of their lives living alone. So in fact, they live, you know, like in the rocks or in the coral, but mostly they live in dens, means like holes in the rocks, and they hide. So usually when they go out, it's in the night, during the night, just to hunt, to eat. But really, really solitary animals. So, and even like to find a mate, you know, a partner, they usually do that just when it's the mating period. If not, they will not accept even a female or email, nothing. So,
Okay. So them being a very solitary species, it also probably means that they have usually in the wild a quite large area where they are, or are they like just always in the same kind of place within a small perimeter around their hiding
no,
hole?
they are solitary animals, but they are also very territorial. It means that they live in an area. So, and they usually go to the same place to hunt, and it's the same area where they usually live. They have their den, and the area that they are used to be there, and they have control, you know, the same area where they are living. And they are very territorial. It means that if another octopus will approach that area or that zone that they are used to live, they will be aggressive. You know, they will defend their territory.
Mm-hmm. That is super, super interesting. And we actually have our first live question. So someone is wondering, how often do octopuses mate?
Well, that's a very interesting question, because that's a very unique characteristic, not only for octopus, but it's quite like interesting of this species, that they just like mate once in their life, and once they have like reproduced, they die. You know, like they put all.
Oh,
A call entered to my phone. I'm so sorry.
that's okay. I can hear you again.
Okay, good. And yeah, I mean, it's just they reproduce once in their life, and once they have reproduced, they put all their energy in that moment, and then they die. It's what it's called in biology. It has a name, but well, it's called semelparous. Semelparous. I think I'm saying well in English, semelparous.
Mm-hmm.
So it's how an animal, you know, like, because they invest all their energy and all to put the eggs and to make that happen. And once that happen, the female dies because she has put all their energy for the eggs.
Mm-hmm. That is super, super interesting to see this kind of reproductive strategy.
Mm-hmm.
And now there are plans to do some octopus farming. Unfortunately, as we will discover soon why it is unfortunate. But approaching this topic of farming octopus, we've now learned they usually lead a very solitary life. Mm-hmm. They only reproduce once in their lifetime. Are there any guidelines or regulations regarding the ethical treatment of octopuses in farms?
No,
so far?
No. And it's quite a shame, you know, like that we want to put these animals in intensive farms, because as I mentioned before, you know, the biology of these animals and how they behave in the wild show us that they are very solitary and territorial animals. It means like if you are gonna put these animals in an intensive farm, they are gonna be in high stocking densities. Also, we know that these animals are very intelligent, and you know, they need to interact with the environment. They need stimuli from the environment and external stimuli, because they are very intelligent. So if you think about an intensive farm, the first picture that I have in my mind is just like an empty tank full of animals, you know, because we need, like, the farm needs to be productive, needs to be like economical, efficient. So they put a lot of animals in a small tanks. So if you think about an animal that behaves like that in the wild, you know, that it's a solitary territorial animal, that only meets a partner just for like the mating. So it's not they are not social animals at all. So then we have like the plans right now, it's to put these animals in these conditions. And you were asking like about the ethical considerations. there's none any legislation or guidelines that are going to protect these animals on that situation, which is quite like sad. And I think it should not be, like something should not happen if there's not a regulation or legislation behind of it. And for now, the first octopus farm is planned to be built in the Canary Islands in Spain. So we are like, I'm saying we because I'm based in Spain, but we are like following the EU rules. Based EU legislation and the EU rules, octopus will be completely, unprotected. Their welfare will be completely unprotected, because in this moment when the octopus it's gonna become farm animal, the farm animal legislation only covers vertebrate animals. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this call, they are invertebrate. This means that the legislation for farm animal in Union, it's not covering these animals. And so the one thing that it's true is that the EU protects these animals when they are used for scientific purposes. I mean, when you are doing experiments or for science reasons, there's a legislation behind, and their welfare needs to be protected. And they recognize these animals are sentient and are able to feel pain and suffer, and it's why the EU legislation for scientific purposes that use animals, for scientific purposes, protect octopuses or cephalopods, I will say, the entire group of these animals. But when we are talking about farm animals, they are completely unprotected.
Okay, that is great, especially as you said, that they can feel stress, so also pain. And but I always wonder, how do we as people actually know that they can feel stress? Because I said, and you also mentioned two words that I quickly want to explain: a vertebrate animal and an invertebrate animal. It's animals who have a spine. So as mammals, humans, we are vertebrates. And invertebrates, animals that don't have a spine, like snails, shellfish, and octopuses. And so when we do research on animals that are so anatomically different than we are, how can we know that they feel stress and pain?
I mean, you need to do several scientific tests to know how the animals, if the animals are conscious, if they are sentient, how they interact with other of their group, how interact with the stimuli. So there's several experiments that you can do with an animal to prove the sentience, the consciousness, how they react to several tests that scientists can do. But related to stress and specifically about pain, with octopus has been demonstrated, because it was quite recently, to be honest, in 2021, with the scientists make some experiments with them, and what they did was just like inject acetic to the body, to the skin, and how the animal behave. And then the animal start like grooming itself to the walls, and showing a behavior that we both will do if someone is doing something that we feel pain. And the interesting thing was that this behavior of the animal stopped once they give them like painkillers or anesthesia.
Okay.
So it was quite clear that something was happening with the animal, especially if you use them, that you are doing some action that causes pain, and then give them like painkillers. So right now, it's scientifically approved, and I will say that non-scientists will say that these animals are not able to feel pain. I think it's quite well recognized that they are sentient, conscious, and they suffer and feel pain. But not just that. I mean, these animals are able also to feel joy, or they like to play. There's several cases, in internet or even in scientific publications, describing the behavior of these animals when they are playing with bubbles, in the tank, or with any other object that they, that the people, people can give to them. So it's not just like they are able, to feel the negative feelings. I think that it's important to recognize also the animals can feel the positive feelings. So when we think about their welfare, it's not just like they not suffer, but also that they can experience joy and enjoy their lives. I think that that's very important when we think about the welfare of the animals.
Absolutely. I think it has big consequences for animal welfare. And a question from the audience, from Joe, I think, that ties in with how these animals experience their surroundings and what they feel is, so this is the question: what could you explain about the sensory biology of cephalopods and differential intake of the smells? Do they pick up on segregated chemicals from animals or in general in the water?
Wow, this is a very complicated question. But I could say, yeah, very technical. Yeah, thank you for making easy my call right now. No, I would say, like, maybe I cannot reply, like in a very technical way this question, because I've been working more with Octopus, with the issues for the farm, and I know them for the like the previous years that I've been working with them, but it's not that it's my I've been working my entire life with them. I will say that it's the past 5-6 years that I've been working there. What I know, it's like they have not the smell as we understand our smell, but they use these chemicals signals that they can feel for their skin and the cells that they have in their skin. So the communication usually goes, and also fish use the same kind of communication that for us it's completely unknown, because we as humans, we don't use this kind of communication, the chemical communication between us, but octopus does that, and also other aquatic animals. And I think it's because we live in different environments. All the aquatic animals use some kind of like communications that we don't use because we can talk and they cannot. Mm-hmm. Other ways that they communicate, and it's true that one of the ways it's like chemical communication between the aquatic animals. I'm sure that this does not reply the entire question, but I hope at least make some sense and like introduce or make some statement about the question.
That's great. Thank you so much. And as before, we've talked about that they might experience play. So in vertebrates, in the animals that have a spine, we have observed that over a lifetime, the younger animals are more likely to be playful, and this way learn about their environment. And the social structures as well, which is very important. But octopuses are solitary creatures and they are invertebrates. So would you say that younger octopuses are more playful than the older ones?
I don't think so. I mean, I think that in this case it goes with because they have a very like evolved brain, so, and they are very intelligent. So I think it goes with their nervous system, because like it's something that they need to do because they have the ability, so they need to interact with the environment. It's not like something that they do when they are juveniles. I would say that octopus, when they are very young, what they need to do, it's just like survive. And they mainly are focused on survive. Think like, for example, the reproduction strategy for the female is to put so many eggs as much as possible. So it's one strategy that it's not, some animals dedicate their entire lives to take for care of one of their child. And this is the opposite strategy. So I'm going to do as much eggs as I can, because I know there's a lot of predators and I'm going to lose most of them. But at least I'm going to try that 2 or 3 or 4, minimum number will survive. Mm-hmm. And when they're very young, they need to eat and, like growth. And they are all their energy is mainly focused on that. I will say that then once they are like adults and they have their own space and they are more, they have developed all the, all the other needs that they have to survive, it's when they can spend some of its energy to play or like to enjoy or other behaviors that they can do. But when they are young, I think that all the energy and all the it's mainly on the survival,
Yeah. So the younger animals, they don't play more. They just try to survive. This is basically what we said. And yes, let's see. Joe has another great question.
Okay, go for it.
But let's put this one first while I'm reading the other one. Is how many years do octopuses live? Do we know that?
Yeah. Well, they have short lives because it's the same strategy, you know, like they usually live between 1 or maximum 5 years. So they have short lives. Yeah.
Yeah, really short lives.
Yeah.
Compared to the intelligence that they develop.
Yeah, and also it's industry is interested to farm them, you know, because they will achieve, you know, like that they grow quite quick. So it's interesting also, you know, for the industry and the people that wants to farm them, this fate of these animals. It's why also it's interesting because it's maybe not worth it, you know, like to farm an animal that needs 10 years to grow and to have a, you know, a weight that it's profitable to sell.
That's right. Joe, I will ask your question in a minute, but let's first ask another one that comes in with the octopuses growing up, the younger ones, and so on. So the question basically is, where will they get the octopuses from for the farm? And will they be caught in the wild and then just reared in the tank, or will they reproduce in the tank and then the young will be reared? How is this planned?
Well, we know that at the beginning, I mean, the project has been, or the scientist has been really like doing some hard work to close the biological cycle of the octopus. So at the beginning, when they were not able to close the biological cycle, of course, they needed to cut the octopus from the wild, put it in tanks, and then try to reproduce them from there. Right now, we know that some Spanish scientists have achieved to close the biological cycle. And right now they say that they have the 5th generation that has been like reproduced in activity.
Great. Thank you for answering. I want to drop in a quick side note as we're slowly approaching the end of the Q&A already, which is quite surprising. So fitting the octopus topic, we will be giving away octopus bracelets made out of end-of-life fishing nets. And we have questions for the viewers, not for you. And they should write their answers in the comments. And then we will give away 5 bracelets. And the question is, how many brains do octopuses have? Drop your answers in the comment section, and then you might just be one of the lucky 5 winners while we continue with the questions for another 5 to 10 minutes. And yeah, now let's see. We've talked about the octopus farming, and the question is it environmentally friendly? Because we've talked about the ethical side of it, about the individual octopus and their experience, but how does it look like for the environment?
I mean, I think that, well, we think that farm octopus, it's not sustainable at all. And the reason is because these animals are carnivorous animals. You know, these are predators in nature. This means that these animals will need to eat animal protein, you know, to grow and to be healthy and to properly develop. So what aquaculture is doing right now, it's just like they are like fishing wild-caught fish, wild fish, to put in the feed of most carnivorous species that we are like farming right now in aquaculture, and they need this protein, animal protein, coming from wild fish that they use in the diets of carnivorous species. So if you think about it, it's like we're fishing fish, not for human population or like to feed people or local communities that might need that food, but just not to produce feed for the carnivorous animals that we're farming. So aquaculture, I think that aquaculture should be a practice that should like reduce the pressure on our oceans and the fish populations, not doing the opposite. I mean, adding pressure on the already very overexploited fish populations. So for me, any aquaculture practice or production system that it's based on carnivorous species, it's completely unsustainable, because we are using wild fish to feed them. And it's not just octopus. If we think about all the species that we have in aquaculture, most of them are carnivorous. And this is becoming really an issue because it depends on fisheries. And I can mention salmon, trout, sea bass, sea bream, but also shrimp, so shrimp is also a carnivorous species. So yeah, for that reason, we think that octopus, it's not sustainable at all. And also any intensive farm, it's going to create pollution, it's going to have like organic waste, chemical waste. They're going to use antibiotics. So it's something that it's not sustainable. So it's going to impact the environment, and it's going to impact the animals that are there, even the animals that they use to feed the animals that are in the farm.
Right. Would you say that it might be possible with adjustments to come up with a farming system where it's possible that octopuses will not suffer, or is that just impossible?
I think it's impossible. It's just like octopus is a species that it's not suitable for intensive conditions. They are solitary animals, they are carnivorous. They are also very territorial, but in fact, they can be so aggressive because they are solitary and territorial that even aggression, even that they can, do aggression between themselves or another individual, they also can do cannibalism. So because they feel quite stressed on that, very stressed on that situation. So for me, an intensive farm of octopus and high welfare standards cannot be friends. This is something that cannot happen.
You said that they might be biting each other and hurting each other. So do octopuses have teeth?
Well, yeah, they have. I mean, not teeth as we understand, but they have the mouth, and they have what we can call teeth. Exactly. They use it not just attack to themselves, but also you think like one of the common animals in the octopus diet is crabs, for example. And they use their teeth to, to break the crabs and even the mussels. So yeah.
Thank you. So one question that comes back to the farming topic is how is the fight against the octopus farm project going? Are there any updates in general?
I mean, there's several NGOs now that we are fighting against this project. And right now, well, from compassion, what we do, it's just like, we don't want that this first farm is going to open here in Spain. But we also think that it needs to be a global movement. I mean, if we achieve, the successful, that this farm, it's not going to open, what we don't want is that company or another company or another country that it's working to farm octopus, it's not going to do it here in Spain, but it's going to go, I don't know, in another country to do it. For example, sometimes here in Spain, something that, for example, they cannot achieve because we have EU regulations. Sometimes companies decide to go to Africa, Morocco, Senegal, these kind of countries. So it's something that we don't want that happens, It's not that we don't want that happens in Spain. We don't want that this happens at all. So our efforts, it's not just to close these farms, it's also like create legislation against or ban octopus farming. So we are trying to do it from several fronts. We are like targeting the Canary Islands government, of course. We are sending letters to them. We are doing also with the collaboration of other local NGOs, doing some events, apps, talks in Spain, in the Canary Islands. But also we are doing the same work at EU level, with MEPs, and that they are interested on this issue and they are against octopus farming. So we want the much support as we can, also from the EU level. But if we look at international level, there's also we know that there's Hawaii. We used to have a farm that now it's closed for environmental impact issues. But there's Mexico also interested to farm octopus. So it's also an international work that we need to do. And here it's quite important to collaborate with several organizations from around the world that we are on the same page. We all think that this should be banned. There's not possible that we have, like, as I mentioned, a good or high welfare octopus farm. So we also work with certification schemes, so no one certify a farm octopus product as a high welfare. We work also, we have been working and supporting US or international organizations that are doing some work as much as we can. Because what we think is that we need somehow a systemic change and stop thinking that we can farm high predators, carnivorous animals in aquaculture systems, and it's going to be a sustainable practice, or animals that are not suitable for intensive conditions. We should stop thinking about which one is interested economic interest behind of this farm. We should be thinking about, I don't know, what's better to farm for the health of the ocean, but also for humans, for the planetary health, food security. We should put these issues or these topics in front of the economical interests of one or three companies. And I think that this needs a systemic change, of course.
Samara says, good luck with the fight. It's an important one. Thank you for fighting it. And I think she speaks for all of us. This is very important work that you do, and thank you so much for it. And also raising awareness is super important. So I have a question for you, tying in with the giveaway that we have for our watchers who can still answer how many brains octopus have in the comment section to be able to win the bracelet. And the question for you is, why do octopus need to have more than one brain? Why is this necessary? Without saying how many there are.
Okay, I'm not gonna say the number, but I don't think that it's a thing that it's necessary. It's just evolution have done it this way. So it's not something necessary. It's just the way that they are. It's why we have a brain and we don't have two. It's just evolution and has made it in this way.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
And we had the very good question before from one of our viewers, Joe. And there's a follow-up questions for this. So you replied that there are two behavioral traits, and it was about the chemicals and the smelling in the water. As with a certain marine wildlife, does this come due to geographical location as well, that they have those characteristic behavioral traits? Would that apply to octopuses as well?
Okay.
I'm not sure.
I need to ask you to repeat the question, because at some point you were frozen and I wasn't able to follow. Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Okay, let's try again. So both behavioral traits. This is about both behavioral traits that connected to octopuses, and is this connected to let's see, wait, I'm going to read it out. But certain marine wildlife, due to their geographical location, species develop characteristical behavioral traits. Would you say that this applies to octopuses as well?
Okay, I understand that he wants to know which one is the geographical location of octopus and how. Am I understanding correctly? Because I think, I'm sorry that I don't understand the question.
Okay. I think the question is, if those behaviors octopuses in general display, are they because they developed in a geographical location? Is this due to their ecomorphology?
Yeah, I think that what he's asking, if depending on where they live, if they develop different behavioral traits. It's that the question. I guess that, if you think about biology, of course, the environment always affects how we behave, or which one are the biology traits that we need. I don't know if it makes sense, you know. So for example, I don't know, if you live in the water, you need some things that you will not need if you live on land. And so of course the behavior that we develop, you know, if we think about evolution or like the traits that each animal has, is because it's something that it's genetical, but also the environment influence on that. So it's both things.
Okay.
That replies.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
I hope this answers the question. In my understanding, it would have answered it. Thank you so much. And we got 2 more questions, and after that, we will leave you to your wonderful evening. But what would happen if you put more than 1 octopus in a tank inside a farm?
Yeah, okay. Well, what it has been proved is that usually when you put several octopus in one tank, and I know that for like octopus that have been used for scientific purposes, not in the farm, because we have never seen what's going on in that farm on that test that they are doing. Usually the result is that at the end, just 1 octopus, it's gonna be alive, you know. So the result is this: if you put several octopus in one tank and they have not, like, they know each other, or they are coming from the wild, they will kill each other until it lasts 1.
And is it then true that the female kills the male octopus after fertilization? So
yeah,
after reproduction?
I mean,
yes?
Yeah, well, it's more like both die, you know, because they have put all the energy for the reproduction. So both,
okay.
That reason. It's not that, you know, like they can harm each other, maybe, yeah, especially the female to the male. But what happens, it's just like they die after the reproduction period.
Okay, thank you. And so meeting an octopus in the wild is quite a special encounter. I think we've both made already.
Nowadays, I will say, yeah.
Yes.
There's less octopus right now. No, sorry, that I will say it's less octopus right now in the wild. I remember when I was a kid to find, it was like not easy, but you know, I used to see some of them, and right now it's impossible.
Yeah, unfortunately. But if someone is lucky enough to still meet an octopus in the wild, what would you recommend to them? How to behave, what to do? Because can they become dangerous, or are they just wonderful to watch anyway? What kind of respectful distance should you keep? Maybe you have any recommendations.
Well, I would say that if you're lucky to see one, because they are like really good with the camouflage, as we know, I would say that it's not dangerous. Not to put it's not dangerous. What I will expect is that he or she will run away from us. He will be afraid, you know, the animal will be afraid of ourselves. So if you're lucky to see octopus, the best thing that you can do is not move and be calm. So he can trust or she can trust that nothing is going to happen. We are not going to harm them, or so we are not dangerous from them. If you want to see more or less how they behave, because I would say that the most probably thing that the octopus will do is run away, you know, or swim far away, or maybe just like you're going to get a shot of ink and you're not going to see it again.
Thank you. I think that's very putting our question.
You're back. It was frozen. Yeah, you are back now.
Thank you for letting me know. Just to remember the audience, it's still a chance to win the bracelet, the octopus bracelet. Just drop a comment. How many brains do octopuses have? And with that, we would like to thank everyone who joined our Q&A session. It has been an amazing 45 minutes now. Is there any last words from you, Dr. Elena Lara?
Yeah, well, I just want to say thank you for inviting me here today. And I'm really grateful that you're interested in the topic on octopus and octopus farming. So it's good that people also know what's going on. And yeah, I really appreciate that you take the time to do the call and you're interested in the topic. And of course, all the people that join and are interested on this issue.
I thank you so much. Very special thanks for your dedication and taking the time to be here with us. If any of the viewers have more questions or feedback, reflections, any thoughts they want to share, please feel free to put them in the comments. We will upload this live later on to be visible for everyone again. And yeah, one question we already have. Can I bother you with this one? It's a good one. Emilio is asking, he agrees that creating octopus farms is very complicated, and due to the behavior, they cannot be kept in herds or groups. So the question would be, how is it possible to meet the global demand for octopuses without destroying their wild populations?
Well, my answer would be like, maybe we don't need to eat octopus every day as people might want, or, you know, right now octopus dishes are becoming famous and luxury products, especially in US, and in Europe it has been a traditional dish, you know, especially in the Mediterranean countries and the north of Spain, but also Italy or Portugal. But what I will say is like, maybe we don't need to eat so much octopus as we want. So it's not food security, so it's nothing that we need to survive, you know. It's mostly a luxury product that not so many people can pay, you know. It's going to be a luxury product created in a farm, so it's going to be quite expensive. So maybe it's what I was talking at the beginning, well, or before, you know, like we need a systemic change in the way that we think. So maybe what we need is to eat less octopus, or what, you know, and manage better the wild population so they are not overexploited. And maybe some like artisanal fisheries, you know, people that has been dedicated the entire life to this kind of fishery, with some quotes, you know, like we need to respect also, and if we want octopus continue being on oceans, and then maybe just like, you know, keep it in that way. It's like maybe we cannot eat or have everything that we want, because it's a natural resource and they are not infinite, you know.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think those are really great words to close down this session. There is also more information on octopuses and octopus farming in the podcast episode that we had with you, which is really great. And for everyone watching, we will be posting the link in the comments after uploading this live in a few minutes. And so the octopus bracelet giveaway with the question, how many brains do octopuses have, will be going on until tomorrow, 24th of November, shortly before midnight. Until then, answer the question in the comment section. And yeah, if you'd like to listen to more about octopuses, we have the podcast episode and we'll share that shortly. And make sure to listen to it. Tell us what you think. And also, any further questions, please submit them. We will get back to you soon. And yeah, special thanks to you again, Dr. Elena Lara, for your time, dedication, and all the great work that you're doing. It's so important. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and enjoy your evening.
You too.
Have a really good time.
Thank you.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye, everyone.